Today we found out that two more Western New Yorkers have admitted that they took part in the January 6th riots at the U.S. Capitol building early last year. In just a moment, we'll talk about the punishment that they could face and also look bigger picture at the attack and all the investigations that remain. First, though, Two on Your Side's Kelly Dudzik joins us with a look at these two plea deals and, Kelly, what they admitted to exactly.
Yeah, Michael, this is the father and son we've done stories about before. They faced a bunch of charges and ended up pleading guilty to a misdemeanor charge of parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. Their names are William Michael Sywak from Hamburg and William Jason Sywak. He's from Arcade. They both signed court documents last month admitting to going into the Capitol minutes after rioters breached it and staying inside for about 20 minutes, then lying to federal agents about it. The court paperwork was filed yesterday. They also admitted to knowing they did not have permission to be inside the Capitol. The father and son will be sentenced in June, and they could get up to 6 months in prison. Several of the cases resulting from the January 6th attack on the Capitol are still being prosecuted, and the U.S. Attorney General talked about this recently.
We at the Department of Justice will do everything in our power to defend the American people and American democracy. We will defend our democratic institutions from attack. We will protect those who serve the public from violence and threats of violence. We will protect the cornerstone of our democracy.
Several other Western New Yorkers have court dates this month. Some have already pleaded guilty and are waiting to find out what their sentences will be, just like these two men. Michael?
And we'll talk more about that now. Kelly, thank you very much. Joining us live right now is attorney John Elmore. We appreciate you coming on to kind of help guide us through some of this. So, John, I looked through, the dozens of pages of documents that have been filed now recently in court here. And I think one of the questions people are wondering, these gentlemen faced 4 charges each. They pleaded down to 1. They're not among those facing the most serious charges. They didn't injure anybody, but this was still pleaded down. How does a process like that work? And how do you... There's been some criticism of the government saying, why are you kind of taking it easy on some of these people? Do you think that's the case?
Well, first of all, let me just say that 725 people have been arrested. Of those, 145 people have been charged with felonies, and as many as 2,000 people were involved in this insurrection. The system doesn't have the capacity to try every one of those cases. And unfortunately, plea bargaining is an unnecessary evil in our criminal justice system. However, if you read the plea agreement, on paragraph 3, it indicates that the two gentlemen are responsible for some type of cooperation before sentencing. And typically when somebody does get a plea to a reduced charge, they meet with the federal government, they meet with the U.S. Attorney, and they assign what's known as a cooperation agreement or proffer agreement, where they tell everything that they know about the situation. And then in exchange from doing that, they get a reduced plea. And then this plea agreement does require them to meet with the law enforcement officers and agents and go through all of their electronic devices. And hopefully the purpose of those meetings will lead to the arrest and prosecutions of other people who are involved in that insurrection.
Yeah, maybe people who face more serious charges, as you mentioned. As far as what they pleaded guilty to here, the single charge does carry a maximum of 6 months in prison, 5 years probation, a $5,000 fine. Rarely do people get the maximum if they don't have a criminal past or anything like that. What do you expect to see when the judge hands down the sentence here in June?
Well, both of the men who pled guilty, the father and son, will be interviewed by probation. They will be able to submit character documents and things of their background. I'm sure that their lawyers will do that. The probation officer will do an investigation of their background, their criminal history, and the probation department will make a recommendation. And then at the appropriate time, the judge will take into consideration the recommendation of the government, the pleas from the defense attorneys for leniency, and come up with a decision that the judge feels is appropriate.
And John, before we run out of time, do you think that will include jail time? I mean, again, the maximum here is just 6 months. Do you anticipate that they'll spend any time behind bars?
I don't know if they have previous arrest or convictions. I think that if they do have previous arrest or convictions, it's likely that they'll see some jail time. If they don't and they express remorse for what they did, then it's likely that they will not see jail time.
And as our Kelly Dudzik mentioned earlier, these are two of a handful of cases that we still have involving Western New Yorkers, so we'll continue to follow them. John Elmore is a local attorney and helps us out with legal analysis here on Channel 2 and on the Town Hall. It's great to see you. Thanks for your time.